So, but well, hey man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. Now you're in the UK, correct?
I am indeed.
Where at exactly?
At the moment, I'm in Manchester, but I'm normally in London, but I popped up to our Manchester office this week.
Okay. So you guys are just getting pounded by rain. I've been talking to people in the UK and they're just like, it was rough.
Yeah, worst summer ever. We
Man.
had an amazing spring, unbelievable, and now just non-stop rain. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Well, it's weird because we just went through a heat wave and there's no rain in the forecast and it's raining every day. Like every day there's rain. It's weird. So yeah,
Well, they're saying at the end of summer we're going to have that's not the alarm you want to go off while you're having
no.
a. Oh, I know, it stopped. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying we're going to have a massive heat wave at the end of summer, which is what we have every year. They call it an Indian summer. It's basically a late summer where
Yeah.
it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be autumn. All we get is this like all the just really hot. It's weird, but yeah, barely been outside this year, so I'm as pasty as it goes. Really.
Well, I talked to someone yesterday that said that they had to get vitamin D injections because they just have gotten no sun. It's wild.
I
So
suppose it does. It does depend where you. I live on the south coast of the UK. Well, in Surrey, near the south coast. Our weather's very different. If you go up north, it's funny for such a small country. If you go up north, it is there's no sun. It is rarely ever a tiny bit of sun. It's like living in perpetual cloud. If you go to the southest part of the UK, it's actually quite warm. It's weird. Anyway.
yeah, that is strange. Very strange. I have to have the sun, man. I couldn't do it. I just, yeah, it's
Oh, I spend most of my time in Dubai, so I'm all right normally.
okay. There you go. Yeah, you're in good shape then. So before we get into your career and your life and mission of what makes you who you are, I want to know, how did you survive the last 3 years with COVID? How did you get through it? And how has it changed the way that you do things now?
So I'm a bit more controversial when it comes to COVID. COVID didn't really affect me. In fact, all I've done, because I own multiple businesses, I just said to all the people that run my businesses, I'm just going to disappear for a year. So I spent the first COVID lockdown happened in the UK, I spent all that time um, just with my wife, and we ironically the best summer we've ever had in the UK as well when COVID lockdown happened. So I was literally in the garden and sunbathing and going out in nature. I love nature and stuff. So it was actually amazing for me. And then most people I had on my podcast after that were like, I said, how's COVID? And they went, oh, I don't know if I should be saying this, but it's been fucking amazing. Sorry, can I swear on this podcast?
Oh, yeah, please do.
I have a tendency to swear, so
I like it.
I didn't know. Some people are like stop swearing.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's
people
good.
say, "Oh, it was amazing." And the thing is, publicly, you can't say everyone couldn't say it was amazing, but quietly, everyone could. There's been some things that come out of it which annoy me. I am not a fan of all working at home. I think it's a joke. I think it's killing cultures in companies. Anyone that says it's all right, I think is lying. Everyone said they still kept high production during COVID. Liars. Nearly every time I went out to a supermarket, people were like, "Oh, I'm working from home." Well, why aren't you at home working? Why are you sitting there? Why are you in a supermarket? Not at lunchtime either. Like, I think the thing is because I'm most of my friends are all business owners. They all said most of them to keep shareholders happy. They had to pretend that it was really productive. But now I think it's coming out. It's coming out that it wasn't as great as everyone made out it was in the way that production and stuff. And I think it's had a really long knock on effect of all people feeling more entitled in their jobs than they used to. Like, you've got to give me all this, and I think it's a really weird time to be an employer at the moment, particularly in the UK. I know the employee laws are very different in the US, but in the UK, it's like you are now under the control of your employees, and it's a really weird market to be in. And especially at the moment, the UK is really struggling with staff. We can't get staff. There's just not enough people in this country for the amount we need. So our outputs as an economy are terrible at the moment because we've got a lot of investment and a lot of money, but no one to do any of the work. So it's just a weird state. And I think the problem is that happened for two reasons. One, was COVID. The main one was COVID, but the other one was obviously Brexit. Um, when Brexit happened, it stirred up a lot of issues with Europeans, and then after COVID happened, a lot of particularly Eastern Europeans went back home, and their economies boomed after COVID, so they could earn the same money back there as they could over in the UK. And we rely heavily on Eastern European workers, and they are also amazing workers, absolutely incredible. Half my team in my engineering company are Eastern European, and they graft like no one I've ever seen before. But they all stayed in their own countries because it wasn't. They'd rather be with their families and earn the same money back at home. But their economies aren't actually doing that well now, so they're starting to come back over. But we really struggle with. We just haven't got enough people to do the work we need now.
Yeah, a lot of people here in America, there's help wanted signs everywhere. Like people got checks,
Mm.
they got used to not working, so it's been the same deal here.
It's really weird. There's this place where I go to a park near me. It's a massive park, and it had this cafe in the middle, um, where they sell just coffees and sandwiches and stuff. And I've always looked at that and gone, "Shit, I want that business because it's so lucrative. It's like insane. It's always got queues out the door, and it's only selling coffee. It's just making a fortune." And I went there the other day, and it closed down. And I went to look at the sign. I was like, "Oh, this might be an opportunity for me." I went to look at the sign, closed down due to not enough staff. They couldn't get people to work, so they've had to close it down. I was like, that's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, I go to a water park with my son locally. They have to close down slides and the diving boards because they can't get enough lifeguards. It's like these are kids. These are 16, 17-year-old kids that all they have to do is get a suntan and look at people swim. You can't get that? It's bizarre, man.
Yeah,
It's really, really
yeah, but
bizarre.
then I also think, and I'll get shot for this, but I don't care. I also think the problem is with the younger generation coming through, they can make money in different ways now. Now, some of them do, like my niece who's traveling the world. She's a travel influencer, earns really well, having the time of her life, grafter. But there's other people who just haven't got it in them to do any work. They think that everything should be given to them, and like I always say, for me, my wife started work. I had started just before I started. I didn't go to college or anything. Oh no, look, I used the right term for America. I didn't go to college or anything. I didn't go to university or college. So I went straight in from a very young age. So I've been working since I was 16. But my wife went to university and college, and then when she came out, it was the 2008 recession, and that my wife worked her arse off, like doing free working, trying to get experience just so she could get a job. And she always says the problem is there's been no hardship really between then and now. I know people think there is, but it wasn't as bad as when we had the collapse and everyone we knew was losing their jobs. Companies were closing down left, right, and centre. Family members couldn't find work. There were no jobs. We haven't been through that stage. It's all been good from when we rebuilt from that, from like 2010 onwards. And particularly 2012 just started booming all over the world again. I've never seen that downturn. So people aren't appreciating the jobs that they would have had. They had don't never had to work for a job, so the mindset's very different now. And a
Right.
lot of people think, well, I can just go be a YouTube star or an influencer, and that just pay me the money. Now, don't get it wrong, some of them do that and smash it. But the problem is, particularly with social media, is there's a lot of people pretending they have a lot of money. So a lot of kids think they should be earning 100 grand a month instead of actually doing a nice job that teaches you how to work hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I totally agree. So let's get to the essence of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
third graders at a career day, and one of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I'll do whatever it takes. No, so I started my life as a construction worker, particularly scaffolding, and then I went back and studied engineering. Failed at that, but I started up a business uh, doing structural engineering. And from there, I realised that I love solving problems. That's my big bag. So from there, I'm dyslexic and I've got ADHD. So problem solving is one of the funnest things for me. So engineering is all about problem solving, and I realized there's no bigger problems than running your own business. So I thought that is more interesting. So then I started a few other businesses and I made some money in that way. And then I started investing in property. And really, ever since then, I've kind of gone about starting businesses. Now, I'm really great at starting things and coming up with ideas and and my real strength is putting teams in places. But then I like to leave a business once I've done that, which at the moment I'm in the process of stepping away from my engineering business, which has been my biggest business to date. But that's to go and do lots of other things that I'm really excited about. So when I said it in jest about doing whatever it takes, but I actually literally do anything I see that I like the sound of or want to be interested in, I do that. So then I realized that a lot of the traits I had was really around my neurodiversity. So I kind of started a podcast talking about, because I always saw it as a gift. Everything, every time I wake up in the morning, there's a roof over my head, clothes in the drawer, food on the table. I think you're a lucky person, family that loves you. That's all you really need. And then I always thought of my neurodiversity as like this really great thing. And then I started talking to people and realized that most people don't agree with that. And that's completely wrong. So I started a podcast and then spoke publicly about how I do public speaking now, about how good it can be, that you can actually turn anything that's bad into something that's good, no matter how bad it is. Because the thing is, whatever we become in our life has been a product of our experiences and understanding. So I then went on to do this podcast, and from there I created a community where we help lots of people learn how to get further ahead in life with their neurodiversity. So this kind of like a consultancy, but we have a big platform that's free for people to come on. And yeah, so I've created that business, and then from outside than that, my other thing is property investment is my big one, and then I do other things like I own vending machine trains and lots of other little shops. I own a letting agents, and just anything that I think suits. I tend to start a business and then start another business that matches that business. So my engineering business, we've now started quite a large training business on the side because I realised that not many people had the training they needed. So now I basically create businesses that complement the other businesses. So I do whatever ever I think of, really.
Yeah. Well, when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Good question. What do I want to be? I actually want to be a policeman. Funny enough,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a policeman, but then they, throughout my whole school life, teachers told me that I probably wouldn't amount to anything. I should set myself sights lower. But the thing was, my dad owned a business. He used to build backs of lorries, like the boxes that sit on backs of lorries, and horse boxes, transporting the horses around. Um, and it was always interesting to me that he always worked for himself, and it was just really freeing. So I think for me, actually, third grade probably a bit young. Yeah, I wanted to be a policeman, but a couple of years after that, I always wanted to be a venture capitalist, even though I didn't know what that was. It just someone explained it to me, and I was like, "That sounds really cool. I like that idea."
Yeah. 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 So, who's been a hero for you in your life? Who's been an inspiration?
Right, I'm going to sound like a dick saying this, but I'm perfectly happy being a dick saying this. Ironically, me, because the one thing I learned from a young age, I was like an extremely overweight child. I'm pretty much overweight adult, to be honest. But all my learning difficulties, I didn't really look up to anyone because I never been much for watching TV or anything like that. I read books and tried to read books as much as I could, but I always just tried to. I had my dad always just say to me, "You need to be better than you were the person the year before." So my goal was always I reversed that, and I wanted to be the person I wanted to be. And I heard the best person that summed it up is terrible with names. The guy that done the he's an actor. Oh, what was his name? He was in Wolf of Wall Street where he tapped his chest.
Oh,
What was his name?
DiCaprio.
No, yeah,
I don't-
no, his boss that taught me McConaughey.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. McConaughey.
Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right. He gave a speech. I think it was at the Harvard graduation thing. I think it was that, and he said someone asked him what his hero would be, and he always said it. He said it was me in 5 years or me in 10 years.
Yeah.
And when he said it, I was like, he's nicked it off me. I swear that's what I've said. I've never said it publicly, so I couldn't have sold it. But that's probably the best thing. I don't really look up to anyone because everyone's journey is really different. So it's kind of really been me and just making sure that I leave the world in a better place as I found it.
So you're a very highly driven person and you've done a lot in your life.
Mhm.
What's been your motivation? What's the thing that gets you out of bed and that moves you every day?
Right. Revenge. So, and when I say revenge, is people telling me I was never going to amount to anything is my biggest driving force. And when people insult me now, a lot of people take words, words are something that hurts. It should be a motivator. So when everyone, and people still say that, and my family still says it. I actually, when I first started out, I used to write down in a book every time someone said something negative about what I said I was doing. And the first 4 pages of this book that I've got from when I originally started this journey was all family members like, oh, Andrew, you're never going to run a business. You're never going to be this. You're never going to be that. And I've still got it today. And I always said when I hit my peak, which as I now get older, I realize there's never a peak. There's just you just keep on pushing your sights further.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to rub it in their face. But actually, they've now become pretty much big fans of me. But I love it. I love it when I used to run a business with an ex-business partner. Everyone thought he was the brains behind the business, blah, blah, blah. We parted ways. And then for the first 2 years of me setting up my business, my biggest goal was to absolutely decimate him and his business in every way. But it's not, it's just proving, and it's a sad thing to do, but biggest motivate for me is to constantly prove people that they're wrong. And I love that. And that's what always drives me. So I always put in big goal. I'm very public about my goals. I want to own 150 companies in the next 7 years and stuff like that. People are like, you're never going to do that. But in the last 7 years, I've never missed a target once. I've always gone past it. And it's people like, I mean, I love Grant Cardone. Most people fucking hate people like Grant Cardone. I love that man. You can say what he says is bullshit and stuff like that. People like that are exactly how I feel in life. Like, you can try and doubt me, I'm going to do it anyway. You're either with me or without me, and I love that sort of thing.
So what are you the proudest of that you've accomplished so far in your life?
The thing I'm proudest. Good, I love that question. The the thing I, the thing I'm proudest of is that I haven't let other people's opinions negatively affect me. I've just let them positively affect me. So it's create, and the other thing, probably more than that, actually, is creating real change, because I get messages every week, over 100 messages from people saying your podcast has like changed my perception on everything, and it makes me feel like I can really do it. That sort of thing, from an emotional side, is massive. But you know, yeah, actually, if I was really honest, and I'd be a soppy prick for 1 second, the thing I'm really proud of is my daughter, who's 2 now. Every time I look at her, I think she's a fucking marvel. Although everyone tells me by the time she's 14, I won't think that. But at the moment, she's my little marvel. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things, but my main thing is really, for me, the thing I'm really working towards is making a huge difference in people's lives. Predominantly all my family. You always got there's a saying I love, which they tell you every time you get on a plane: before you try and help others, put your own mask on. And this one thing I've learned for doing a lot of stuff with charities. You can you can give some money to charity as you're working along and try and do it that way, or you can build big audacious fucking things and create wealth beyond imagination and then give them to charity. So put your own mask on first. It
Yeah.
starts at home. If you're giving too much, whether it's time, energy, or finances to people, but you're not looking after yourself, when that goes, that person won't really remember everything you've done, but you'll be in a situation where you're not really being of any help of the people around you. So make sure you get your own side sorted first.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of your side sorted out, everyone has a perception of you, all these pockets of people, family, friends, clients, colleagues,
Mm.
but you run the show. What's your
Mm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I always like to think I'm a really go lucky, happy person, and sometimes I am, but I do have mood swings. My wife would probably tell you the best person who I am. Um, I'm I'm extremely loyal to anyone that helps me, but I'm also a fierce rival. If you like, I'm quite pathetic in a lot of ways. Yeah, like if people attack me when I've tried to help them, I become very much against them. So let's say I'm fiercely loyal, but not particularly a person you want to go up against, particularly in business. Because but I will try and help everyone. I just think, I think the world overlooks a lot of people, because they don't think they're going to amount to anything. And I think the real amazing people are always hidden. So you've got to find them.
Yeah.
So I would say that everyone thinks I'm a happy-go-lucky person. That's why when someone called me negative the other day, and I told all my staff about it, and they thought it was hilarious. Me being negative is just like, it's not even possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this: if you could witness one event in human history with your own eyes, what would you love to have seen happen?
What one event that's already happened?
Yeah, something that's happened in the
Okay.
past.
Okay. What would I have liked? Well, if I'd love to see, I'd love to watch the pyramids be built.
Yeah,
probably my, it's probably
man,
my biggest question.
that would
Because
open a lot
the thing
up.
is, well, do you know what? We as a human species have done so many amazing things so long ago. We seem to have had this massive time where we went backwards for a long period of time, and before we started moving forwards again. So actually, I'm very into history and that sort of thing. So I would love to see that. Now, a nice person might have said the fall of the Berlin Wall or something like that. Not for me. I want to see them amazing people that we were that created the world we live in now. I'd like to see how it what used to function back then,
Yeah,
in order to see where we went wrong.
absolutely. So, Andrew, if anyone wants to learn more about you, your companies, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Right, so you can find me literally I'm pretty Googleable, which is not very good for my wife. Says everyone knows who you are and everything about you, but you can find me on I'm on LinkedIn under Andrew Kitley, Instagram Andrew's Gift. My podcast is The Invisible Gift, and for any social media platform you can find me. Just type in Andrew Kitley. There's not many of us in the world, thankfully, so yeah, really easy to find.
Right on. Andrew, I love how you roll, man. Thank you so much for giving me another shot here. I'm glad that we hooked up. best,
Thank you for having me on.
best of luck with everything, man.
Okay, thank you for having me on. I'll speak soon.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye.